Hello, friends. Susan Axelrod here, the Confidence Coach. Welcome to the Confidence Zone. Today, in the Confidence Zone, I want to offer a legacy tribute to my father. Today is the second anniversary of the Hebrew date of his passing. And so you may be aware that in Judaism, we celebrate from evening to evening. And so the anniversary of his passing begins this evening and will go through tomorrow. As you can imagine, it's a very reflective time for me. I was so lucky that my father did not die from COVID 2 years ago. He did die during COVID, but because he had already been in a bit of a decline, my mother made a decision to keep him at home, to not put him into a hospital at that time in June of 2020. It was a terrible time to be in a hospital. The minute you went in, you could actually catch COVID, but definitely you would be in isolation. And at that time, by the time the decision was made, we knew that he would not last much longer. He was in a natural decline. My father had a strong constitution. Although he was a smoker for about probably 50 years, somehow he stopped 20 or 25 years prior to his death. Somehow he lived a good long life. His lungs were okay, his organs were okay. He never had a major medical situation, and he really had a strong constitution. And I thank God and I thank my parents for the strong genes that I received. So at that time, my father had already begun to be in a natural decline socially as he lost his hearing and he suffered from macular degeneration. It was harder and harder for him to do one of the things that was the most important to him, which was to read. And as a result, he began to have a social, mental, and emotional decline. He died at the age of 92, I believe. So thank God he lived a long, well life. And but in the end, his decline was significant. My family members all gathered round and decided to stay with him. I moved in with my mother for a while. Then my sister moved in for a while further into the process. My brother and my other sister came and went. The family members, the grandchildren came and went, even though it was during COVID. And we were all lucky to really be able to circle the wagons and stay quiet in the space of my parents' home. One of the things that I would like to say and to share was that hospice, though we were not with them for a long time, became such an important resource for us. When you're in that situation, you know what's coming, but you have no idea what to expect. The professionals of hospice came in and basically said to us, yes, we're looking at the end, but we really don't even have a diagnosis. But they did everything in their power to work with us so that they could stay there and be with us through the process, really incorporating their professionalism and massive resource base to support us. So now I'm proud to say my sister-in-law, Mike's wife, Linda, is actually a social worker working for a hospice. And I'm so grateful to know that she is now one of those people, one of those resources for other families who will need her help and support the way we needed the help and support of hospice. So my tagline, as you know, since 2004 and my website since 2010 is, what will your legacy be? So I thought I would just take a minute to talk a bit about the legacy of my own father. My father's legacy was of family and of business. My father was very well known for saying, blood is thicker than water, like family is everything. And he acted in this way in his life. He instilled values of this nature in his children and his grandchildren, stemming from the values of his own upbringing, and also, of course, our religious and cultural heritage of being Jews, as he would say. I'm not Jewish, he would say. I'm a Jew. It was completely firm identity that he had no problem with his entire life. So family and business, so many countless opportunities that he and my mother brought the family together. We gathered around for all the celebrations of family, and we supported each other. And the four of us adult siblings, me and my three siblings today, are close and working in the most amazing sync to be in good relationships, in support of each other during these years that have been difficult. My mother did pass away just more than a year after my father. And as such, now the four of us are the parent generation in the family, and working together to keep the values very strong. And business, my father was a businessman. He was a CEO of a global company, and his entire career, after the early days as a scientist, his entire career was in business. So in the late 90s, when my children came into the school age, I decided that I wanted more freedom and flexibility to be with them. And I decided to become a consultant. I started in my business at the age of 21. So by the age of 31, 32, 33, I had been in the business for a long time. I was very devoted to my career, and I did have a lot of very good experience. And so my father, having been a consultant for part of his career, was one of my business advisors. And he helped me understand how to be a consultant, how to work as a consultant, and especially how to generate income as a consultant. I worked on my own. I've always worked on my own all this time from then till now. But my father was always in the background of my life, willing to listen to me and then talk to me about business. So even though he was a corporate CEO, he was in the corporate world his entire career, he really sort of had an understanding of who I was and what I was trying to do. And so he guided me in many ways that have benefited me and my business so much since then. Later on, when I was helping to co-found a global nonprofit organization, my father, who was before the time of computers, he never became savvy on a computer. He never really he was just earlier than the time. And in later years, he was just never able to really integrate the use of computers into his life. But he would sit in absolute amazement watching me participate with my friend and partner, Nechama Labor, in these online classes and online sessions that we give, where he could see in real time we were talking with Jewish girls from around the entire country and even the entire world. Because I spent a lot of time with my parents in their later years, they lived near me and we were blessed to have good family relationships. I spent quite a bit of time at their house, and we were in the virtual world long before COVID came along. And he would sit at the table and I would sit here doing this, having conversations with people in other areas of the country and even the world. And he was amazed, and he would just listen to me. And just sitting at the table is what a beautiful, amazing memory that is for me. And then afterwards, he would talk to me about the subject matter, the topic, the content that I would be speaking about with girls from around the world. And a lot of it had to do with positivity, with mindfulness, with commitment to the inner self, the inner journey, finding, feeling, experiencing the soul. And he would ask me questions. He would cock his head a little bit and he would think, and we had some wonderful discussions as a result of that. So he was always one of my business advisors. And late in life, towards the end, he said to me, "You've done such a good job in business." It's really, amazing to have that partner and that synergy with your own parent for them to, you know, actually share that kind of praise in a very quiet way. He was an important man in business, a very big personality, but in many ways, he was also, he had a quiet way about him. When he passed, there were so many of our friends who told us that they had wonderful conversations with our father and they learned so much from him, and that he listened to them. And especially one of the biggest things was when our friends would tell us their experience of our family when they would come and sit around our dinner table, that we would actually talk to each other, have real conversations about real things, important things in the world. And that was the culture, the family culture that my father created. So, my question for you today is, how do you want to be remembered? And the corollary question is this: how will you be remembered? Do you live every day and act in every way in such a way that you will be remembered the way that you want? Are you in consciousness? Are you in commitment? Are you in intention? Are you in mindful presence to who you want to be and how you want to live your life? Or are you in consciouslessness, where you are absorbed way outside of yourself, not feeling in charge, not feeling in control, and not really doing the best that you know that you can? What will your legacy be? And then to take that further, what is your destiny? Can you live out your destined purpose if you're not truly in conscious commitment to self, to family, to business, to our world? How do you want to be remembered? And how will you be remembered? It's all in your hands. What will your legacy be? Thank you for sharing this moment with me in honor and in tribute to my father. I want to say Shabbat Shalom to those who celebrate, and to everyone else, have a wonderful weekend. I'll see you next week.